So, today we're going to talk about something that sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie, but it's very, very real. It's a law out of Washington State, House Bill 2320, and it gets right to this wild new territory where a file on your computer could be treated just like a physical weapon. I mean, really think about that question. Can simply owning a file, just having it on your computer, land you in legal trouble? Well, that's exactly what we're digging into today. We're going to see how one state's effort to crack down on so-called ghost guns might be setting a legal precedent that could change the rules for digital privacy for all of us.
All right, so here's our game plan. We'll start with the ghost gun problem itself. What's really going on there? Then we'll look at Washington's answer to it. After that, we dive into the digital side of things, from bullets to blueprints. Then we get to the core issue, when a file on your computer implies you have criminal intent. And finally, we'll zoom out and ask, what does this mean for the future?
Okay, so to really get why this law even exists, we have to start in the physical world. The whole reason HB 2320 was created comes from a very real, very tangible concern for public safety, the rise of ghost guns. And if you look at the text of the bill itself, I mean, they're pretty clear about their motivation. They're worried about firearms that can't be traced and sometimes can't even be picked up by metal detectors. This is all a direct response to the boom in homemade firearms, often made with things like 3D printers.
And that's where the name ghost gun comes from, right? No serial number means if that weapon is used in a crime, well, it's pretty much a dead end for investigators. It's a ghost in the system. So, lawmakers had to figure out how to deal with this. And Washington's answer? Well, that's where things get really interesting.
And that brings us to the law itself, House Bill 2320. You can think of it as a really comprehensive attempt to shut down the ways these untraceable firearms are made and get around.
Now, when you first look at the bill, it does all the things you'd probably expect. It makes it illegal to manufacture, assemble, possess, or sell these physical, untraceable guns. All of that is pretty standard stuff for a gun law. But, and this is a huge but, the bill doesn't stop there.
Because this, right here, is where HB 2320 takes his giant leap from regulating things you can hold in your hand into the world of regulating pure information. This is the exact moment a gun law becomes a data law.
So instead of just going after the final product, the law aims at the very source, the digital blueprints, the code. And that's a massive shift in strategy, moving from policing things to policing data.
The bill actually creates a whole new legal term for this, digital firearm manufacturing code. And you can see from the definition, it's basically any kind of digital file, like a CAD file, that can tell a machine how to make a gun. You can think of it like a digital recipe that the law is now watching very, very closely.
And now we get to the absolute heart of the matter. This is the most critical part of this whole explainer. It's not just that the bill regulates these files, it's how it does it that could set a really powerful and frankly kind of worrying new precedent.
This is the key. This isn't just about stopping people from sharing or selling these files online. No. This law targets the simple act of having the file on your computer, your phone, a USB stick, just having it. And that steps into a really murky area of digital privacy and what you're allowed to even think about.
Just let that legal phrase sink in for a second. Rebuttable presumption of an intent. In plain English, that means if they find one of these files on your devices, the law automatically assumes you're a criminal. It presumes you intended to break the law.
And this just lays it out perfectly. This is a total 180 on how our legal system is supposed to work. Normally, the government has to prove you intended to do something wrong. But under this bill, nope. They find the file, and boom, the tables are turned. The burden of proof is now entirely on you to prove your own innocence.
So you might be thinking, okay, that's a little strange, but I don't live in Washington, so why should I care? Well, you should. Because legal precedents, especially bold ones like this, they have legs. They tend not to stay in one place for very long. Let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture here.
This comparison really nails the difference, doesn't it? We're moving from a world where the law punishes a criminal action, you have to actually do something, to a new world where just possessing information can get you in trouble. We go from the prosecutor having to prove you're guilty to you having to prove you're innocent. The focus isn't even on the weapon anymore. It's on the recipe.
And this is the real kicker. This is why it matters everywhere. Once you set a legal precedent that possessing a certain kind of code implies you're a criminal, where does that stop? Seriously. Today, it's a CAD file for a gun. What about tomorrow? Could it be encryption software the government doesn't like? Code that could be used for hacking? What about controversial texts or political ideas? This bill creates a playbook, a legal model, that could easily be adopted by other states or governments to police any information they decide is dangerous.
So when you boil it all down, the single biggest takeaway is this really profound legal shift. Washington's HB 2320 has created a framework where the government doesn't have to prove you meant to do anything wrong. All they have to do is find a certain file on your computer, and suddenly you're the one who has to defend yourself.
And that leaves us with this huge, maybe even scary, question for the 21st century. In an age where information is code and code can be powerful, a law like this forces us to ask, what's the difference between having a dangerous idea and committing a dangerous act? And maybe more importantly, who gets to decide where that line is drawn?